And with this discovery, he finally knows exactly what killed the 5-day-old baby.
What I am seeing under the microscope suggested to me that this is a herpes infection.
Infections from herpes are very common. An estimated 4 out of 5 people carry a form of the virus.
There are actually several different types of herpes viruses. There's herpes type 1, herpes type 2. Herpes type 1 is typically considered the virus that results in fever blisters. Herpes type 2 is considered a sexually transmitted disease. It typically occurs in the genitalia.
A herpes infection, for which there is no cure, can cause recurrent painful blisters around the genitals or mouth. It's also contagious, generally spread through skin-to-skin contact. But in infants, the infection almost always comes from the mother.
I believe what happened was that during passage through the birth canal, this baby was infected with the herpes virus from her mother.
This form of the virus is called neonatal herpes because it infects neonates, babies within the first month of life.
They don't have a very good immune system at that age. For an adult who has an active immune system, herpes is not a big deal. It doesn't affect us the way it affects neonates, but almost universally with babies, they have a hard time fighting off that herpes virus, and 40% of them still die with treatment.
From the moment she was born, Tamara Taylor faced daunting odds.
The herpes virus infected the lungs and started reproducing in the lungs, essentially taking over the lungs. During that time, the baby experienced increasing difficulties with breathing and then ultimately succumbed to the overwhelming infection of the herpes virus in her lungs. This baby died of herpes pneumonia.
Dr. Prallo's findings now completely clear Amber of any wrongdoing once and for all. And when he calls Detective Fuller with the news, the seasoned investigator is taken by surprise.
I mean, she was telling me the truth the whole time. I didn't believe her at all. I mean, there was no way God's green earth that I was believing her. But she knew she was innocent. She clearly knew she did not have anything to do with this.
Amber is relieved that Dr. Prallo has finally put a name to Tamara's killer. But she's shocked by the revelation that she contracted the herpes virus and then unknowingly passed it on to her newborn child.
And that made it even worse because then it's me, like the whole time. I want to die. I go to the doctor regularly, so we had a full checkup, everything inside out, blood test, and the only thing that come back is you're pregnant.
It might be hard to believe that most people who have herpes are not aware of it. They either fail to recognize their symptoms or have no symptoms at all.
The problem is when women first get infected, 75% of them are asymptomatic. And if they happen to be giving birth, that's going to infect the baby. And so the vast majority of those 1,500 to 2,000 babies that are born each year with neonatal herpes, their mom had no idea that they had herpes.
If a woman is known to have herpes, they will tend not to have a vaginal birth. They'll go to cesarean section to avoid neonatal herpes.
Whether or not a prompt diagnosis would have saved Tamara's life remains uncertain. But one thing is clear. The autopsy itself averted another potential tragedy.
What's really scary about the whole thing is that years and years ago, before there was adequate forensics, the police department would have gone to a scene like this, found the baby in the condition it was in, and the story behind it, with the mother with fingernails, they would have locked her up right there, you know, with no ifs and or buts about it. If it wouldn't have been for the doctor going the extra mile, she would have been tried and sent to prison.
The only way to recover from something like that is to go day by day. I have 2 kids, and they're wonderful, and it's like I see her and them in both of them, and they're old enough to know now, and I already explained to them what happened. They see her picture. They were like, Mom, we miss her. We wish she was still here. And I said, just know that you got an angel that's over you. And they were like, Mom, we're sorry that you had to go through that.
For Dr. Pralo, it's a constant reminder that every autopsy matters.
We as forensic pathologists often will say it would be a really bad thing if we missed a homicide. But there's one thing worse than missing a homicide, is to have a wrong opinion about what's going on, and then as a result of that, someone who's innocent is sent to prison.
I can't imagine what it would be like to have to experience losing a child, not knowing why the child died, and everybody thinking you did something to it. But at least the autopsy gave Amber a chance to live the rest of her life without the shadow of suspicion.